Hi, my name's Randy, and I'd like to talk a little bit today about some of the differences behind a traditional therapist, an office visit, a clinical life coach, a clinically informed life coach, and so forth, and some of the examples of why different things or different people are used in different situations with our young adults. First of all, there is no right or wrong to any of this. And so, even some of my messages might make it sound like one way is a better way than another. That's not necessarily true because one of the things that Passia Life prides themselves on is that we individualize the customized needs around each individual student. So when it comes to the world of therapy, some of our students will actually see a traditional therapist in an office-like setting, for example, every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. because that is what's best for them, and it's serving their foundational clinical needs in a way that they are needing at that moment in time. One of the downsides to that kind of a therapy model for us as working with young adults is it's actually not in real time. It's always a postponed and delayed time, i.e. Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'll talk about that more in just a moment. One of the other things that we try to steer away from as much as we possibly can is when a person of any type walks into a hospital, to a doctor to get because we're sick, or we walk into a therapist's office and we walk in and on the door there's LCSW or Dr. So and so on the door, it immediately triggers the subconscious mind or the soul that says, I am broken, I am sick, therefore I must need to get fixed. And that's something that there is some truth to that with certain challenges in our lives. But at the same time, it's not the real message that we want to be sending our souls. We actually want to be sending our soul and our subconscious programming messages of empowerment, what we can do. We want to stick to more about what we can accomplish in our life and how to accomplish those things than focusing on all the things that are broken or wrong, perhaps. Again, there's not a right or wrong. There are situations where some very traditional therapy, individualized and or group therapy models are actually essential to creating the foundation of moving a person's life forward into the next stages. Now, another example is a clinical life coach and or clinically informed life coach. And the simple difference between the two is a clinically informed life coach is somebody that actually has a ton of experience. They have probably worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of young adults over the years, either with Passia and or in other programs or wilderness settings or things like that. They understand all the diagnostic processes. They understand how to work a student through things. They've been working on clinical teams for years. A clinically informed life coach may not have a degree or quite the level of education or theory base behind them for us to call them a clinical life coach. So a clinical life coach tends to be somebody that actually has that schooling and or other levels of experience that would take them to a little bit higher level. Now, one of the things that I've done, because I've been working in this industry since 1987 and worked certainly had involvement with over 10,000 young adults' lives over the years. And one of the things I look for is, and something I learned a long time ago, is somebody with a PhD is somebody always highly educated, but they're not necessarily the most intuitive soul that works with a young adult in that moment in time. And so don't get caught up too much about degrees and things like that. They are important. They are baseline. We hire key people and we have a blended model around how many people we hire with degrees versus non-degree and so forth and so on. At the same time, don't let the degrees fool you. A degree just means that you went to school and that you accomplished a major feat in your schooling, where sometimes the skill sets that are on the ground have nothing to do with that degree. Now, let me give you an example of the difference between a clinical coach and a therapist with a set appointment. Let's pretend that I have social anxiety and that social anxiety becomes paralyzing to me in certain situations. One of those settings might even be in a job interview. I'm walking in, I'm having to promote myself. That feels really scary. And I'm meeting a stranger for the first time, and I don't really even get to warm up. I have to walk in, and my job coaches at Passia Life have been teaching me to walk in, have a firm handshake, look them in the eyes, you hand them your resume if that hasn't already been handed to them, and this, that, and the other. And so I'm feeling all this stress. And let's assume that in my life that anxiety gets to the place where I actually become paralyzed. and or I become avoidant in responsibility and so forth. So in a traditional office setting, I get to go talk to my therapist about what I'm experiencing throughout the week at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Every single week, we can keep working on it. We can actually do mindfulness exercise. We can do coping skills processes. We can do CBT, DBT. We can use all kinds of different therapeutic models to try and help me overcome these clinical moments or these blockages in my life. At the same time, what would happen if I had a clinical life coach that actually, say I have a job interview on a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and my clinical coach comes and picks me up at 8 o'clock that morning, probably gives me a little quick check and say, hey, is your shirt done? Is your collar done correctly? Do you have anything in your teeth? And things like that. And then we actually go together and we're sitting in the parking lot of the job interviewing place at 10 a.m. And in that parking lot, we're practicing some of the skill sets that we've used. We might even do some mindfulness exercise. We might do some deep breathing exercise, coping skills exercises, but we also might role play the interviewing process. We might even go into a little bit of a therapeutic moment, but not too deep at this moment in time, around why some of these blockages in my life are haunting me at this moment in time, and all that kind of stuff. So now I walk into my job interview at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, and I come back out and my coach is still sitting there and goes, hey, how did it go? Tell me about it. And we get to process the pros, the cons, what I did right, what I triumphed over, what I got scared about. Did I freeze up? Did I get paralyzed again? What happened? And at this moment in time, at Thursday at 10:30, let's say a.m., we're now sitting there processing what just happened in real time. We're not waiting until next Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. to get on to go into the office and to go and say, okay, well, tell me what happened. The emotion of that moment is past. The reality of that moment may not have shifted. It doesn't mean that the 10 a.m. appointment with the office therapist next Wednesday at 10 a.m. is not a good thing. It just means that we might have lost some of the momentum, the reality of the moment in time. And so the way that Passia Life oftentimes works with therapists, clinical life coaches, and so forth is, as much as possible, we actually try to take the word therapy out. The primary reason for that is, again, goes back to subconscious programming, is I start to feel like if I'm going to see my therapist, I am broken. If I'm going to see my coach, well, Olympians have coaches. Tiger Woods has coaches. In fact, public speakers get public speaking coaches. I mean, coaches are about empowerment and lifting our lives forward, where therapy is more about being broken. It doesn't mean that I don't benefit from the therapeutic skill sets that are foundational to helping me move my life forward in all areas. It just means that the wording and the way that we go about it is a little bit different. So hopefully that gives a quick example. I could probably give you 25 more examples of how real life, in the moment coaching, clinical life coaching actually embraces and gets higher results over time, especially with young adults. Here's one more piece to take away before I close. Is my experience, having watched many people go through therapeutic processes over the years. If I have a 40-year-old husband and wife that's working on their marriage, and they call a therapist and say, you know what, we really got to fix some stuff, and they start to set their appointment for, say, Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. And in that moment in time, as a person, as a couple, we are paying the bills. So we have skin in the game. We have set the appointment because we actually want the appointment, because we recognize we need some outside help and guidance in our therapeutic process and so forth. And that whole thing is different. Like, we're engaged. When we go into that meeting on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. and the therapist says, okay, let's begin. And they're watching their clock because they have appointments right after us as well. We're going in to work. We're going in to engage. We're going in because we have skin in the game. We're going in because we put our credit card or our payment method down on the line, saying that we're going to invest in ourselves. With young adults, we sometimes lack the maturity to really understand the value and the time factor of working with a highly trained person. And secondly is they have no skin in the game generally, is their parents or family members are the ones paying for it. Their family members more invested oftentimes than they are in that process. And so in the PASEA Light clinical model, so often the coaches are actually trying to catch the moment in time, be there in the moment in time, and go through the process with you. With each of the young adults. So again, it's a little bit different piece to it. One of my favorite things ever is parents will oftentimes say, you know, hey, Johnny, to their son or daughter, you know, hey, what'd you do today? And they'll go, well, I applied for a job, or I went on a hike with my coach, or I went skiing with my coach, or I went surfing with my coach. And it's like, end of story. Now, if you had that same conversation with the coaches, they'd actually be saying, well, when we went to the job interview, we did this, 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 and this to overcome this, this, and this blockage in their life to help them overdo this, this, and this. When we went on that hike today, we actually talked and worked on the following things. And they're all bullet points. And again, the student sometimes just tells the parent, go, yeah, we went for a hike. And to the coach, we actually worked on 5 hours worth of good work today. So anyway, it's just a little bit of a different model. We believe that it actually works much better to do clinical life coaching models over office-based therapy appointments. There are times that some of our students really need the traditional office-based therapy. And if you ever needed to understand why, I can give you a lot of reasons why that sometimes is the best answer or a significant part of the process. But to be honest with you, inside of PASEA Life and all of our locations across the world, that's really about 1 in 10 students that traditionally go through an office-based therapy model and actually benefit from it. So hopefully that information is helpful. We hope that you have questions. You can always reach out and ask deeper questions to us. Thank you so much.